Hello, my loves. Ruby here. I hope you are well. It has been freezing in Colorado. It's been below freezing temperatures. I can't remember the last time I was this cold when I stepped outside. So if you are in a similar predicament, I hope you are staying cozy and warm. And I wanted to share an oracle deck with y'all that has recently come into my life that is so magical. I've been getting so much out of working with this deck. It's been such a pleasant surprise. And that is the Queen Mab Oracle by Tess Whitehurst. We have the artwork by Melanie DeLong and Cecilia G.F. This is published by Blue Angel, and the tagline on the box is Divine Feminine Wisdom from the Queen of the Fae. So I thought that I would, show you the guidebook, share some of these card images with you, and as we do that together, I will share a little more about, how I've been working with this deck, how I recommend this deck is to be worked with to get the most out of it, and all of that good stuff. All right, so like I said, this is published by Blue Angel, and this is very standard to the decks we've been getting from Blue Angel the last couple of years. So, if you're a fan of the Alana Fairchild decks, that's kind of the style and the vibe with this. So we'll open the box. You have an orange interior. Purple and orange is not my favorite color combination, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it does remind me of Mardi Gras in New Orleans, and I lived in New Orleans for 8 years, so we're gonna let the deck have it, okay? This is the guidebook, and then we have the cards themselves, and this is the other inside of the box. So it's got the nice matte cardstock, like silky matte, that again, if you purchase Blue Angel Oracle decks, or if you have a few in your collection, at least the ones that have been published in the last few years, you're going to be familiar with this style of cardstock. Very typical size for a Blue Angel Oracle deck. I have the Kali Oracle on my reading altar, so I'm just going to show you these side by side to compare them. So as you can see, the Kali Oracle is slightly wider, it looks like, but it's very similar in size, and I probably exact same cardstock, etc. And I've actually been using these two Oracle decks in conjunction. And if you are drawn to and you really resonate with the divinatory meanings and really the medicine and the tone of the Kali Oracle, I think the Queen Mab Oracle is going to be a no-brainer for you. We're both kind of dealing with dark feminine wisdom and shadow work, but in this very loving, compassionate, non-judgmental way. At least that's been my experience working with the Queen Mab Oracle so far. So before I show you some of the card images, let's look at the guidebook together. So here is the guidebook, typical Blue Angel size. Again, this really reminds me, just in the way that it's laid out, to the Alana Fairchild decks that aren't so meaty. So like the Sacred Rebels Oracle, like the Kali Oracle in terms of how it's laid out. So we have a note from the author in the beginning and some card spreads and how to work with the deck. And then once we get to the card descriptions themselves, for every card description, you are getting a small reproduction of the card image, the card title, a few keywords. So this is like the divinatory meaning boiled down to its essence. And then you're getting about, a page and a half to 2 pages, sometimes a little more, depending on the card of divinatory meaning. And the wisdom in this guidebook is so profound. I think the guidebook is the reason to purchase the deck. As you can see, this recently came into my collection. I don't even think I've had this deck for a full week. Usually I wait a little longer to talk about a deck, but I've been working with her so much and just loving the wisdom and loving the medicine and getting so much out of working with this deck. I couldn't wait. I had to share her with you all. As you can see, I've already been, underlining in this deck or in this guidebook. It's been such a wonderful ally for me on my path at this current time. As I shared in my last video that I posted talking about the Laputan Oracle. I was recently, thrust into a life lesson where I was really faced with some of my unhealed maiden. And I feel like this deck came into my life very purposefully to help me unpack and heal and alchemize some of that. So if you are like me and, you struggle sometimes to like really stand in your sovereignty and in your dark feminine, and there's still ways in which you give your power away, or you feel safe more in the role of victim, I think that the tone and the guidance in this deck is really well suited for unpacking and transforming some of those, I don't want to say issues, but, some of those, for lack of a better word, patterns or cycles in our life. So let's look at the cards, shall we? So for each card, you are getting a card title and a number and the artwork. So this is one that is going to be a personal deck for me. I will not be using this deck to work with clients. I think the sweet spot with this deck is really pulling a card and then, reading the guidebook description, the guidebook meaning, and then doing some reflection and journaling, like really metabolizing and taking in the content of the guidebook. And so for that, it's just really not suited for client work. I also, just how I've been working with this deck, it feels so personal. I want to keep her that way. And I'm going to be honest, if it was just based on the artwork alone, I don't dislike it, but it probably wouldn't have been a no-brainer in my collection. Some of the artwork is beautiful. Some of it looks a little too electronic CGI to be my personal taste. But as I'm working with this deck and falling in love with her, I'm coming to enjoy the artwork more and more. I do hate the font of the card titles, I'm not gonna lie to you. But overall, not a lot of complaints. And I have to take a sip of water real quick. I apologize. I'm still a little under the weather. So, as you can tell, it's more of like a computer generated type of art, but if you feel called to this deck, purchase it. That's why I bought this deck. I felt very strongly pulled by spirit to add it to my collection, and it was because it had exactly the right wisdom I needed at the time. So each card title is a Shakespeare line. I clocked that pretty quickly, and then I had to look in the guidebook, and right at the beginning, the author shares that is intentional. Queen Mab being kind of a tangential character, I just put two words together, a tangential character in Shakespeare. I believe that she's featured in a monologue from Romeo and Juliet, Mercutio's monologue, I'm pretty sure. Been a while since I was a theater major. And, I would say this is dark, feminine wisdom. If I had to put this deck in a box, I would say maybe a shadow work deck, though this is really adding something unique to my collection in terms of shadow work, because it feels very connected to a dark feminine wisdom stream, and I do love this card. Like I do enjoy the artwork. I just think that it probably wouldn't have been just like such a no-brainer for me based on the artwork alone. I'm really learning. Yeah, I really enjoy some of this artwork. I'm not gonna lie to you. And, I had such a mystical, magical experience working with this deck, because right out of the box, I asked a question, I pulled a card, and it was just so much what I needed to hear. You guys are used to hearing this by now, but I was like in tears. And then it was so on point, I was like, well, I'm going to ask about this. And it was exactly what I needed to hear. And I was like, I need to ask about this. And it was exactly what I needed to hear. And so this deck is like I said, been just such a beautiful ally for me on my path. So I have been working with her in tandem with either the Kali Oracle or the Kali Pocket Oracle in my morning journaling, and then pulling maybe a daily draw from tarot as well. And those are the decks I've been working with in my morning meditation. The last, I would say 4 or 5 days. Pretty much since I filmed that January deck rotation video. Oh, I like this one. I love this one. So, I would say if you have a lot of shadow work decks or dark feminine decks in your collection, I would just tune into your guidance and ask if this is one that you need. But, with the current astrology, we've had the South Node in Libra, we had Venus retrograde over the summer, then we had, Venus conjunct the South Node this fall, Pluto's about to move into a new sign. So we've had all this transformation, and with the South Node in Libra, it's been really relationship oriented. And I think a lot of us that are socialized feminine, that are women, a lot of our unhealed, our powerlessness can come in relationships, whether that's romantic or otherwise. And while this isn't a relationship focused deck, I've been asking a lot of relationship questions in terms of, what was my part? Why did I give my power away? How can I come into sovereignty, come into wholeness around this issue? And the guidance has been so extremely helpful. So if you are walking that path with me, I think this would be a really useful tool for you. All right, I'll show you one more and then I'll leave the rest for if you decide to purchase this deck for yourself. I won't talk for a half hour today. We'll keep it short. But that is the Queen Mab Oracle. I'm really excited to continue working with her. It wouldn't surprise me if she ended up on my, favorite Oracle decks of 2023 or 2024 list. I cannot believe that I'm saying that. I cannot believe 2024 is already here. Like I said in my last video, it's kind of a trend for me to get a lot of my favorite decks right at the beginning of the year, and I work with them all year long, and I am not mad about that. And I do say, I think that this is why I prefer working with the deck a little more instead of just doing an unboxing for you. Because if I had just done an unboxing of this deck, my first impression of it would probably have been very average or on the fence, just based on maybe the aesthetic of it alone. But since spending time working with it, 10 out of 10, great deck. If you love a good Blue Angel Oracle, or you love a good daily draw, you really want some wisdom with your card pull, you really want to be met with compassion, but also truth. You want to see yourself and you want to grow, and you are on a path of soul evolution, particularly, walking with the divine feminine. I think this is a deck you would enjoy, okay? So as always, I am sending you love. I'm wishing you well. Stay warm out there and be blessed.